Good evening, I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, in a bid to salvage their share of the market, local petroleum company Rubis is approaching government with a bid to acquire half of the shares in the Barbados National Terminal Company. Kareem Smith tells us more.
Government's acceptance of an offer of $50 million for half of the Barbados National Terminal Company Limited could play an important role in the future of Rubis on the island. Word of this from CEO of Rubis Eastern Caribbean Mauricio Nichols during a press conference at their Warrens Industrial Park headquarters. This development after it was recently revealed that their biggest local competitor Sol, owned by Barbadian businessman Sir Kiffin Simpson, recently struck a deal with government for the purchase of the BNTCL. However, the move is being highly criticized, with competitor Rubis Caribbean as well as a number of other groups saying since Sol is already the dominant player in the Barbados market, it would create a serious conflict of interest.
The government will receive the money, they will receive it in time for closing the budget, and the joint ownership of the terminal really guarantees that both of us have a secure future in this country.
The matter was referred to the Fair Trading Commission to conduct a comprehensive investigation into the proposed sale, with a view to exploring all of the possible anti-competition and monopolistic implications. Prime Minister Frando Stewart also said last week he's confident that the Commission would straighten out the matter. In light of this recent move by Rubis to level the playing field by purchasing an equal share of the BNTCL, officials are hoping to see a reversal of what many believe could be a bad precedent for local business. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
A local banker says Barbados's foreign reserves have dropped by about half over the past 5 years. And he says there's a need to look at ways of continuously reducing foreign exchange outflows. Strategy and economic analyst at CIBC First Caribbean, Shane Lowe, says Barbados has moved from 20 weeks to now 10 weeks of imports, which falls below the minimum international standard. He says key areas can be looked at to reduce the outflows.
The first one, consumer food and drinks. That's the largest component of what we actually import in terms of goods into Barbados. There may be some opportunities to partner agriculture with the tourism sector, for example, and see if there's a way that we can source more of the foods and goods and services that we actually use in tourism and in other areas locally. The second main one is in fuel, alternative energy. We've heard about it for quite a while now. And if we are able, I think what the last 2 years have actually showed us is that if we're able to reduce our fuel intake and actually use renewable sources of energy, we can actually balance what we export with what we import on a longer term basis.
Mr. Lowe says there are other areas of foreign exchange outflows, but there is limited scope to reduce them since they impact on key areas of consumption, production and investment.
So for example, construction materials, if we reduce those, we have to literally stop constructing things, building houses and buildings, etc. like that. If we speak about capital and other goods, things like buses, trucks, things which are not manufactured in Barbados, again, that slows investment, that slows production. So the two main areas seem to be in agricultural areas as well as in renewable energy.
Students of the Parkinson Memorial School have been told they should not let poverty prevent them from achieving success. But rather, old scholar and current principal of Queen's College, Dr. David Brown, says poverty should motivate them to strive for excellence. He shared the advice as he delivered the feature address at the school's speech day and prize-giving ceremony earlier today. Ryan Broom has more.
Dr. Brown's address to the 100-plus prize winners was far from just another message about striving for excellence. In his 30-minute presentation, he shared some of his childhood memories of being raised in humble circumstances.
When I sat my O-levels in fifth form, I did my homework not with the aid of electricity, but with an oil lamp. My poverty and humble circumstances did not set me back. My poverty energized me.
And his journey to success was met by many challenges and failures, but with support from his family and teachers, he persevered. Some of those challenges, he says, were mainly based on stigma in the local school system.
Thank God for the opening of the Barbados Community College in 1969. And when you listen to me, good folks, that opened the door for students to be to what was called then the newer secondary schools. Queen's College and the grammar school shut us out, just say out, they shut me out. I am the principal now, open the door.
He also encouraged the students to turn negative situations into positive ones and to prove the critics wrong.
When it was announced I would be the principal of Queen's College. A relative of mine called me, telling me that he was speaking to a fairly prominent lady, and she said Queen's College can go through the back door. Now listen to me. The only reason she made that comment is because I'm a Parkinson boy.
Meantime, Parkinson Memorial Principal Ian Holder says the school performed well in several subjects, including electronic document preparation management, which boasts a 100% pass rate, and music.
More than 90% of the students had passed. I am sure about 70% of them had distinctions in music theory. Let's give those students a round of applause.
The ceremony also included performances from the school's choir and old scholar musician Mylan Clark. Ryan Broom, CBC News.
An early morning ride to work for one motorist almost turned deadly after he was involved in an accident. That accident reportedly occurred about 8 along Salters in St. George. CBC's roving cameraman Chris Wood was on the scene as emergency medical technicians tended to the injured motorcyclist. Lawmen are continuing investigations into yesterday's discovery of suspected human remains. They say a skull was discovered just after 1 yesterday afternoon at Phillips Road, St. Stephen's Hill, St. Michael. Police officers discovered the skull in a bushy area. A number of startup companies and young people with great business ideas will soon get an additional avenue to bring their plans to fruition. 10 Habitat, a non-profit organization which focuses on developing investor-ready startup Caribbean entrepreneurs, and regional bank CIBC First Caribbean have partnered in a venture to support local and regional startups. Chief Executive Officer of CIBC First Caribbean and Chairman of its charitable foundation, Gary Brown, as well as Selwyn Cambridge, founder of 10 Habitat, recently signed a memorandum of understanding. Through the MOU, the bank will support the work of 10 Habitat with a yearly grant of $15,000 for the next 3 years. 10 Habitat will work with young entrepreneurs by exposing them to a range of hands-on support that will assist them in building their businesses. Opposition leader Mia Mottley says the finance minister must go. Commenting on the impasse between the central bank governor and finance minister Chris Sinclair, she said the prime minister must take this course of action if Mr. Sinclair sought to fire Dr. Worrell without consulting him first.
Termination of the employment of a governor of the central bank is not a small matter. It is a matter of the highest national importance. If Sinclair did not communicate with Mr. Stewart, then Mr. Sinclair should be fired. But if, as I believe, he did discuss the matter with Mr. Stewart, the Prime Minister is plainly attempting to delude and to deceive Barbadians by stating that he has not made himself, quote, privy to all that has been happening.
Ms. Mottley was speaking during a press conference held today at the opposition's office at Parliament. It was attended by BLP Chairman George Payne, General Secretary Jerome Walcott, and party members Kerry Simmons and Dale Marshall. Suggesting that government only took action when met by opposition from its citizens, Ms. Mottley announced plans to lead a national protest on March 11th, which she says will just be the beginning.
The National March of Disgust and the rally thereafter, I forewarn the country, is but the first salvo by the Barbados Labour Party to let it be known that enough is enough. We will not sit silently and permit the wholesale destruction of Barbados simply to allow a government to limp or crawl its way to the constitutionally stipulated finish line.
A place most often associated with the relaxation and enjoyment of students at the University of the West Indies Cave campus was thrown into chaos yesterday during a violent altercation between 2 students. Kareem Smith has that story.
What began as a perfectly normal evening for students at the University of the West Indies on Tuesday quickly turned bloody after an ongoing feud between two young men reached its boiling point, resulting in injuries to both of them as well as an innocent bystander. According to police reports, Akindele Litcrish of Freehill Blackrock St. Michael and Nathan Worrell of Maxwell Christ Church, both 21-year-old students of the university, were injured during a stabbing incident at the school. Sources say a number of students were enjoying an evening of leisure when an argument started about an incident which took place last week, but quickly escalated, resulting in the throwing of objects and both men receiving stab wounds about the body. Police say Litcrish was taken to a private medical facility where he was treated and discharged. And they have confirmed that a 25-year-old woman was also struck in the head by one of the objects, sustaining injuries. She was treated at the Student Health Clinic and discharged. In a statement released by the university's Office of Public Information, they confirmed the incident, but also said UWI doesn't condone the use of physical violence, especially as a means to settle disputes or differences. The university says it's cognizant of its responsibility to provide a safe environment for all students, staff, and visitors at all times. The campus adds that it's prioritizing the investigation into this matter with a view to determine whether disciplinary action should be taken. No arrests have been made so far, but lawmen are continuing investigations to determine their next move. Kareem Smith, CBC News.
When we return, we have news from the Upper House.
Don't let your data experience slow you down. Step up to Digicel, Barbados' fastest 4G network, more than twice as fast as the slow network. Get more with Digicel. Digicel, the fastest 4G network in Barbados. Dial *153 to sign up to Digicel today.
Love is in the air, and love is always there. Book from now until February 28th for 35% off all your travel from now until March 28th as we celebrate the Love Month. Do something fun. Book that weekend getaway for two. Or take in some of those carnival festivities in Dominica or Trinidad. Don't forget to use promo code AMOR for this fantastic deal. Call our reservations department, your local travel agent, or visit us at liat.com to book now.
Need affordable motor insurance? Get up to 30% off plus additional discounts for new and used vehicles. Call 436-6200 or log on to beacon.co.tt. Where you need us, when you need us.
CBC Presents is back. Look out for us each and every Friday at 9 p.m. Get a chance to discuss health, and we will explain and bring clarity to many of your concerns and legal issues. Join us via the email talk@cbc.bb or call live at 228-5562 or 63.
Yo, welcome to them. Yo, it's your boy Ricky Diesel. Boom, we have the girls in a capital. Shizzle. Friday, March 31st. Give me soca. Bacchanal on the beach. It's gonna be crazy. Boom, and I'm gonna be there. Freaky girl that we love. Y'all bend up. You thing on fire. Boom, boom. You thing on fire. Y'all bend on you thing on fire. Freaky girls. Give me soca. Bacchanal on the beach. I'm gonna be there. Crazy.
98.1 The One is a proud sponsor of Gimme Soca.
Senator Maxine McLean has given strong support to the recently passed Notaries Public Bill 2017. Leading off debate in the Senate today, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade says the proposed increase in the number of notaries public will aid in making Barbados more competitive.
As we take each step to enhance what happens on a day-to-day basis in terms of business facilitation, in this case the provision of services of a notary public, we are doing so in a way to build what I would describe as a business environment that is increasingly responsive and nimble.
Senator McLean stressed that the bill is part of a wider ministerial effort to ease doing business in the country.
We recently had launched the new electronic single window, which talks about making easier the whole process of shipping and goods and so on, importing and export, for example. Our business community also relies heavily on the issuing of work permits in some sectors, etc. And I can tell you, if we cast our mind back again to previous debates in Parliament, we would know of the work done by the Immigration Department. To my right is my dear colleague, Senator Boyce, who has responsibility for immigration. And we know that certain protocols were put in place to ensure that work permits were processed in a much more efficient and effective manner.
But opposition Barbados Labour Party Senator Wilfred Abrams suggested the office of the Notary Public be decentralized and not limited to attorneys. He says there should be a set criteria for the appointment of notaries public.
If somebody fulfills that criteria, then they can be a notary public. Now, the criteria is self-selecting. By virtue of the stated criteria, you can weed out people that you don't want to be notaries. You can weed out undesirables. But it should not be a case that this important cog in the facilitation of business will lies strictly within the hands of the government.
Senator Abrams also wants Barbados to embrace technology to improve business facilitation.
Barbados has become an anomalous country. If we're talking about business facilitation, let us do all of the things that facilitate it. Why is it you can file your VAT return online? You can sit down in your office or in the comfort of your house, fill out your VAT return, file it online, but you still have to pick yourself up and go and deposit a check in the drop box at the VAT office, or go and stand up in line at the treasury or on one of the VAT offices to pay by credit card or by check. Why is it that we can file it online, but we can't just complete the payment online?
A veteran trade unionist believes if Barbados is to rise above the current challenges, issues such as productivity and customer service have to be addressed. Independent Senator Sir Roy Trotman says he was taken aback by what he says is passed off as customer service on the island, and he wants to see more programs on productivity improvement and customer service.
I get annoyed and concerned when I see it on the part of the management worker. And I get equally annoyed when I see that the management worker sees it and takes it as a given. And to my mind is not doing sufficient. Not to get rid of the person, but to improve the person. And to ensure that at his or her workplace, there is a level of customer service that makes the worker proud, makes the manager proud.
Sir Roy is pleased with efforts to make Barbados competitive. The issuing of work permits, however, remains a sore point. Senator Professor Sir Trevor Carmichael voiced support for greater attention to be placed on customer service in Barbados. He was moved by the island's ranking in a recent Doing Business report.
Smoking alleviation will help conversely in national economic growth. And it will help in national economic growth as a result of health savings. So therefore we would be talking about longer lives, but longer useful lives, and health control cost reductions.
Minister in the Prime Minister's office, Senator Patrick Todd, suggested there are similarities in the selection of justices of the peace and notaries public. Senator Todd says the addition of more of these professionals is a step in the right direction.
We're doing it in phases, so, so that we do not just go in terms of allowing any and every person to be a notary public just because other jurisdictions adopt such an approach. We're a sovereign nation, and the cultural and other realities in Barbados may be different from other jurisdictions.
Despite the criticism leveled at the Barbados Revenue Authority, a government senator has come out in its defense. Senator Verla de Pisa says calls by the opposition for access to conduct transactions online require that one-door stop.
You cannot
with one side of your mouth claim that you have a problem with the BRA and its setup, and I know that is not what we are discussing today, and then with the other side of your mouth complain that we don't have the very thing that the BRA is designed to facilitate. And we have to be sensible and reasonable and put aside our political affiliations at some point in time for the good of the country. And we are at that point right now. What is best for the country is what needs to be backed by all persons who consider themselves to be of some standing, wishing to promote this country.
In other news now, some lucky Barbadians will not have to pull their pockets while grocery shopping. That's because Jordan's Supermarket has rewarded customers in their Spend and Eat competition for 2016. 20 customers from the supermarket chain's 4 locations received prizes of between $1,000 and $5,000 in groceries for a year. Assistant manager at Jordan's Supermarket, Sabrina Jordan, thanked the shoppers for their support of the business.
We would like to thank the winners for their patronage and hope they continue shopping with us after they utilize their winnings.
Farmers have the support of a government backbencher in pleading with judges to deliver harsher penalties for crop thieves. Small and medium-sized farmers are at their wits' end with thieves who are said to be the worst plague for the agricultural sector. They spoke to Denise Blackman about it.
Thousands of dollars in planting, months spent waiting for your crops to grow, and in one night, your entire harvest stolen. Farmers continue to count their losses as crop thieves are left smiling from reaping what they did not sow.
You're watching your crop grow, and it's coming to maturity now, and you're trying to decide, let me see how soon you can start reaping. But guess what? Somebody is watching your progress too, and they start reaping before you do. I had a whole acre of cassava, and the cassava just went. Sweet potatoes, the same thing.
The fellas carry over 60 rods of my potatoes. At that time, the potatoes were scarce. And over 60 rods, that's a lot of money for a farmer. I went to the police 8 times for this guy, and he was seen stealing. We run him already stealing. We went to the police, but then again, poor farmer, and a lucky thief.
I was going to harvest my crop, and then what happened was I had all the plans in mind. You can get this money, you can pay the irrigation bill that you owe, you go buy little sprays and things, and then you come the next day, and then all of a sudden all your crops are gone.
John Ross has been in the business since he was a boy. Thieves made off with his chives over the Christmas season, and after he labored to plant the entire area all over again, he was hit once more, right before he was ready to harvest. CEO of the Barbados Agricultural Society, James Paul, argues the farmers are often targeted by thieves who sneak in, jump over, or cut their way through to reach the bounty.
We have to be mindful of this thing. It is not easy. There's a sense of loss, of deprivation that goes through that person's head. So that is why I think really that we need to understand what happens. It's like being raped. That is what they do to you. And that is why they say we should have no sympathy on those persons who walk around the place and deprive people of their produce.
However, thieves are only the first problem. It's almost impossible to prove that any crop is stolen once it leaves a farmer's land. That means farmers rely on catching them in the act.
It has gotten to a stage where you have to come out at night, sit down in the land to watch your crops. At different periods of the night, you walk through, you spot your light, and at the end of the day, you're still putting yourself at risk because you don't know what a thief has, or where you're going out there to, how many people you're going out to. It's just a risk that you have to take just to ensure that you can harvest your crops.
Farmers say there are cartels of thieves who seem to be protected.
We have a situation in our communities where people who, well, they know the perpetrators of crime, it's seen as if tacit support sometimes is given to those perpetrators of crime, and some quarters that you do not expect them to be given.
And even if by a stroke of luck some thieves are caught, many farmers believe they are failed by the justice system. One of them caught a thief on camera, but the court at that time declared the footage inadmissible. Another thief was charged to pay a minimal amount, which was just a small fraction of what the stolen goods were worth, and he returned to the scene of the crime, laughing at the farmer as he passed by the field. Farmers have been crying out for years for legislation to protect their investments, and Mr. Paul believes it's only a matter of time.
I do know that there's a draft Federal Larceny Act, which I hope will be coming to Parliament soon, and that act actually contains some changes.
The updated legislation should ensure that, if requested, proof of origin or proof of purchase be provided for any agricultural produce being sold by vendors. But the farmers are hoping the thieves begin cleaning up their act now.
You still have to eat every day. Your household has to be taken care of. You don't know how many children you have and if they're going to school or not. He may have a vehicle on the road. If the vehicle breaks down, if something goes wrong, what is he going to do if he gets sick and got to go to the doctor? How are you as a farmer going to live?
My brother, if you want something for your children, come and I would give you any sort of produce for your children at home once I know your story is true. But don't come on my plot and steal my things. And I'm asking you, please, give the farmers a chance to live.
A desperate but necessary plea that hopefully bears fruit going forward. Denise Blackman, CBC News.
Still to come, a look at stories making headlines across the region.